Alright, so we are back for the final video in our S4 repair. We're going to go ahead and install it back into this brand new bezel or housing that we have for the phone. Went ahead and replaced the glass on the phone itself. So the first thing we want to start with is putting in the home button cable for the back and the menu button as well. I'm just going to kind of clean it up here for just a few seconds with some alcohol and this microfiber cloth that I have. Don't want to take all the time to make the phone glass look new without all the other pieces looking new as well. We're going to go ahead and insert the ribbon cable back into the phone. And it still has some adhesive properties to it, so we shouldn't be too worried about the phone not sticking. If you need to use some double-sided tape, you can definitely do so here as well. This home button has some tiny little connectors that hook into some prongs on it. So I'm just going to use my dental pick to kind of push them onto it. That'll hold the home button in place when I readhese the glass to the frame of the phone. So stick them on there, make sure it's nice and tight. You can't mess up the home button as long as you have those connected to the correct spots. The shorter ones to the left and the longer ones to the right. We're going to go ahead and pull back the adhesive covering here all the way around the phone. Be careful not to touch our fingers to the adhesive itself. Now this came pre-assembled with some adhesive on the phone as well as some adhesive on the bottom here for the LCD to reattach itself to. So we're going to go ahead and insert this, making sure the ribbon cable goes in first. Then we're going to insert the bottom of the phone and then press upwards. Now the S4 has a little bit of an indentation into it, kind of like the Note 3 does. So we want to make sure we press along all of the corners and sides of the phone to press the home button to make sure that it functions correctly. Once we've reinserted it, which it does, and just going across along the phone and making sure that it's adhesing nicely. The trick to making sure that it sticks well is that you've removed any adhesive, any LOCA that was stuck to the sides of the bezel or the frame of the phone. I spent a pretty decent amount of time cleaning that, so make sure that you do the same before you start sticking it back into its frame. Once you feel that you're pretty confident with the way that it's stuck down, making sure that you've hit kind of every spot on the phone to make sure that it's getting that adhesive, you can go ahead and flip the phone over. I'm just going to double check that home button. Go ahead and flip the phone over, and we can go ahead and start peeling off the adhesive portions on the back of the phone as well. I get a little bit paranoid about the adhesive sticking, so I always want to make sure that I take my time to make sure it's stuck in there. So just peeling back all the adhesive layers here off of the little cooling mats, any of the adhesive for the charging port area or the front-facing camera area, removing all of those backing to the adhesive. Now we're going to try to take this, put this back in the way we took it apart. The first thing we're going to start with is the little vibrator module here. It has a place to stick in, so make sure you stick it down. And it has a little tiny like ring piece that fits in. It has a little kind of prod or module that you need to stick down to the ribbon cable to make sure it sits in the correct spot so it hits the connectors on the back of the logic board. So make sure you put the module back into its correct spot. We're going to go put back in the earpiece proximity sensor. Put in the front-facing camera. We'll put in the little connector clip that goes on top. So you can kind of just set it on there and give it a little bit of pressure. It'll snap back into place pretty easy. We're going to put it back in our headphone jack, and it does have one screw that holds it in place, a silver screw. So make sure you've set that aside properly, and we'll go ahead and put that back into the correct spot. Alright, we're making great progress with this phone. We have our logic board. I'm going to go ahead and insert it back into its correct spot on the board. Go ahead and put down our connectors. This will help hold it into place, and we can put our screw back into its correct spot. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky, so you may need to take some time. I don't be overly forceful with these cables, just be nice and firm as you press them into the correct area on the logic board. We'll put in our black screw for the motherboard. We'll go ahead and insert our charging port back into the phone. You want to put the charging port into its socket first and then press down. And this does have some adhesive that holds it down, so go ahead and press it back into place. This longer cable does connect back to the logic port, so make sure you connect the ribbon cable. And then you need to insert the home button ribbon cable back onto this longer cable as well. This one is a little bit tricky, so take your time and make sure it snaps in place, or else you won't be able to use your home, back, or menu button, and that would be a little detrimental to using the phone. We can put our charging port housing back on, so we'll just put down one side of the charging port. You can try to depress it on there. You normally have to use a screwdriver or the dental pick or something to kind of get it back into place. Just kind of pushing down on one side will snap it back in. We're going to go ahead and put in our little antenna cable here. So sticking the kind of longer side onto the bottom portion of the charging port. And it does have some guides down the side of the frame here, down the side of the battery, so go ahead and insert those back into the cable back into that correct spot. Just slide your finger down the cable, it'll go ahead and push it in, and then go ahead and make sure that it gets a nice, good connection to the logic board here as well. Perfect. The next step for us is to go ahead and put the rear kind of plastic housing back on. It'll snap back into place. So go ahead and insert it onto the back of the phone and kind of just depress down. You'll feel it kind of snap back into its sides. Go ahead and push down on all the sides as you go across. Make sure all the snaps are back in place before you start putting in the screws or the bottom portion. Make sure it fits all back together. I'm going to go ahead and put in the bottom loudspeaker assembly. Then we can insert the battery. Let's double check to make sure the phone still powers on and that everything's connected properly for us. Excellent, so it powers on. We know this LCD assembly should work for us. We'll go ahead and insert all the screws in the back where we removed them from. Perfect. Just double checking the touchscreen, make sure everything's functioning properly for us. And it is. Now I always check the keyboard all in the corners. It seems like we do some LOCA repairs. Sometimes the corners get a little funky, so double checking those to make sure that everything works for us. The power button is going to function for us. Go ahead and power the phone off at this point. Double check the adhesive around the side of the phone as well. We can go ahead and insert the remaining screws that we have. Take just a few seconds to get those in. And this truly was a LOCA process start to finish. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I hope you found this to be helpful. Although this is a complete disassembly, I mean, you could use it to just change the charging port, or you could use it to just change out the camera or the front-facing camera or your your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, anything like that can be done. But this is a good process to do if you have a cracked digitizer or cracked glass, and you want to just go ahead and repair it if the LCD of the digitizer is still functioning and responding to touch. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will try to respond to them when I can. I have some upcoming videos. We'll be changing the color on an HTC One M7 from silver to black, as well as doing a full LOCA change and process on that phone as well. I have an S4 Active that I'll be tearing down and replacing, although I'm not sure that I'll be putting a new housing on that because those phones are freaking expensive for parts these days. Make sure we go ahead and put our battery cover back on. We have an iPhone 5C, changing out the LCD screen. We have a few other phones upcoming, so if you want to see those, go ahead and subscribe to me. I'll try to release them as soon as I can, although I do have a day job, so I can't do them all day long. Let's go ahead and clean our screen with a little bit of alcohol. And this full replacement is complete. If you found the video to be helpful, go ahead and like it. Subscribe to me if you want to see the upcoming videos. I appreciate you guys watching and kind of sticking with me. And I'll see you on the next video that we release.